Cool. Okay, so I'm David Scott. I work at Citrix in Cambridge, and I've been doing some work recently on building infrastructure as a service clouds with OpenStack, bits of Xenserver, which I call Xenserver Core, CentOS, of course, and Ceph. So I'll talk to you a bit about that and try and show you a live demo, assuming the network connection stays up. So just a quick recap. What is infrastructure as a service? And this is if you want to compete with the likes of Amazon or Rackspace, and you want people to come to your website and stick in your credit card and rent a virtual machine from you, then you want to run one of these infrastructure as a service clouds. And to do that, you need a whole pile of software, which I'm sure you probably know. We need a good distro to install all the software in. So that's where we use with CentOS, obviously. And we need somewhere to put the VM's virtual disks. And so I'm going to show you a bit about Ceph, a distributed storage system. And you need some sort of hypervisor to run the actual virtual machines on. So you can use various things. And I'm a Zen guy, so I'll show you how to use Xenserver. And finally, to glue it all together, you need what's called a cloud orchestration layer. And there are several of these as well. And I'm going to show you OpenStack. Right, so let's zoom on. OK, so I'll start with Ceph. Everyone knows about CentOS, so I'll not describe CentOS, obviously. So what is Ceph? Well, Ceph is it just talks about being a distributed object store, but also supports block devices and file systems. So basically, it provides every kind of interface that you could possibly want on the same sort of unified backend. And it's quite nice for virtual machine disks because it's distributed, and this means that rather than buying a SAN that sits in the corner and has 16 spindles and then becomes a bottleneck, instead of being like that, it's distributed so you can basically add new things to your Ceph cluster, and it can sort of scale out horizontally with your cloud. It's also really nice for VM disks because it supports thin provisioning, so you can allocate a big virtual disk and it only use what it needs. It's also really useful because it supports things like snapshots, which obviously good for backups and that kind of thing, and copy and write cloning, so you can have a gold master template and fire off little clones of that and just copy the blocks that you write to, and it's all very efficient. So that's Ceph at a high level. So yeah, getting started with Ceph, well, it's actually really quite easy on CentOS. It's all really good news. You can just go to their website and you can add their stable repo. You can say yum install Ceph, and have a very quick sip of coffee, and before you know it, the Ceph client has been installed on your machine. That's really good. And then it's only a matter of following the quick start guide to get started, and I'll not go into that. It's the documentation is extensive. It's quite a big system. Getting a small simple node going is quite straightforward, so you can experiment with it, and making a bigger deployment will obviously take more effort. But yeah, so there's quite a lot of documentation on the website. I'll show you a Ceph thing later on. Okay, so next thing. So as well as CentOS and Ceph, I'm going to use Xenserver. And so what's Xenserver? And that's really, it's an open source hypervisor platform. It basically runs virtual machines on clusters of hosts. And really, Xenserver is really a set of things. It's a Linux distro, a bunch of packages, which I call Xenserver Core, and a bunch of extras. So I'll talk a bit about those. So yeah, the current, if you were to get Xenserver and get it on a CD, the current stable thing would actually use CentOS 5.7, and in development we're using CentOS 6.4. That's the recommended sort of base distro for Xenserver. Obviously CentOS is great. We always use CentOS. CentOS is lovely, very stable. Everyone loves CentOS. So yeah. Okay, so the Xenserver Core term, this is a sort of a new thing. So this is what I'm calling the set of all the RPM packages that contain all the software that runs in the DOM0 to make it work as a Xenserver. So this is it's like a virtual package that depends on things like Zen 4.2.2. It depends on Linux like 3.4 or something. It depends on Open vSwitch. It depends on a package that provides HA heartbeating for the cluster. It depends on packages that provide storage functionality. This virtual package also now depends on Libvirt in development, and it depends on various host and cluster management tools, such as this Zen Api and Zapi's cluster manager. But the nice thing is it's just a virtual package.
Right, so any chance of moving the image up a bit?
Up a bit.
Easier to see from the back.
I wonder if it could be. Is there anything you got to stuff under it?
Better? Okay.
Go higher.
Bit higher.
Yeah.
How's that?
Just trying to level it. Oh, well.
Level it to the ceiling.
Is that right?
That's fine. Yeah, better, yeah. The cone goes much shorter than
Great. Okay. So Xenserver is a Linux distro, a bunch of RPM packages, and then some extras. And the extras include things like PV drivers for Windows VMs if you use Windows, and also Windows GUI, which is also good if you use Windows. Obviously, it's perfectly fine on Linux, and there are CLIs and things, but the GUI is a Windows-based one. That's really part of Xenserver as a whole, but obviously the Windows GUI isn't an RPM package, obviously, alas. So yeah, so getting started with Xenserver. I'm talking about this is basically a development version of the Xenserver core packages that I wouldn't recommend using in production, but it's in a state where you can just install it and have a play. So all you have to do is add an experimental repo and then say yum install Xenserver core. It's amazing, and run this little install wizard, and that's amazing too. And it's all very, very, very nice and simple. And in fact, I've got a quick video just to show you how I was so impressed with how nice CentOS is. I wanted to show a quick video, if I can find it. See if I can get this to work. Yay. Yeah, this is my CentOS 6.4 machine that I installed earlier, 64-bit, and it's not running anything at all particularly. At the moment I haven't installed any kind of hypervisor. So all I have to do is install an RPM, which adds the it adds the repo. It's a tech preview of Xenserver, and wait for Yum to do its thing. I love this stuff. Sorry, you've probably seen this kind of thing like a million times, but I love this kind of thing. And then you just have to type in yum install Xenserver core. And it thinks very hard, and loads of dependencies, loads of cool stuff happens, loads of packages start installing. This is really good. So if anyone has actually installed Xenserver from a CD, you can see this is quite different. Normally when you buy it, you get it like a Xenserver from Citrix. It's like CD, you install it on a fresh machine. It's got CentOS embedded, but it's really like an appliance. This model, where we've got the Xenserver core packages, allow you to install the same software, but running on a regular like CentOS host. This is all in development. So you can see just flying past that we're now depending on things like Libvirt. This is a new thing. We didn't used to use Libvirt and Xenserver, but in the development version we now are. And I think we depend on Mesa. I'm not quite sure why. There's some 3D stuff in there. Unfortunately, I haven't actually got the 3D interface working yet. And yeah, so we have some of our higher level tools are coming in. There's one called Zen Api, which is a thing that serves the Zen Api requests, which is our sort of off-box interface. And obviously, yeah, we depend on Zen, clearly, and various other Zen packages. And yeah, I just love watching Yum work. I'll see if I can zoom forward slightly.
Which part is dev and which part is already using kind of product?
Okay, which part is dev? So this particular install, some of these packages are coming from CentOS 6 stable packages. Some of them are coming from EPEL, a few things like bash completion and things like that. The Xenserver control plane, the tool stack in Zen jargon is all experimental development stuff. This is what we're sort of currently working on now. So it's not suitable for production, but it is suitable for playing with. I call it a tech preview because you can kind of install it and you can give it a go, you can kick the tires, you can see what works in your environment and on the mailing list and say, this thing doesn't work for me, and we'll try to help. There are various people like John and Mike just behind you who will also try to give you a hand if it goes wrong. So this is we're trying to do things in a more normal way going forward. I think previously we always embedded CentOS, and it was it was a bit of a black box, and people see the CentOS in there and they kind of want to use its good features. We kind of stopped them, and it was all a bit unfortunate. And we want to in the future we want to be better sort of open source citizens, better CentOS users and contributors, and we want to do things the standard kind of way. So that's what That's why I like seeing this yum thing. Because I've watched Xenservers install for years and years, like the standard way, and just the past like few weeks, I've been watching Xenservers install this way. That's much better, I think. Yeah. Okay, cool. So yes, maybe I'll skip forward slightly because it's not that exciting to watch it clean up after the kernel RPM. Yeah.
Sorry, what's the state of the GUI for Linux distros? Is there a HTTP? I know there was a web one.
Yeah, there are a couple actually. I think there's one called, John will know, is it Zen Orchestra?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and there's possibly another, well, is Zen Orchestra the most?
XVP as well.
XVP, oh, that gives you console access, doesn't it? It's a bit fragmented, I would say, but they all do certain things. It's worth having a play. Also, I should say that although Zen Center is a Windows GUI and you maybe don't use Windows, it is at least open source. So as of like last week, so the source is all in GitHub, so you can clone it away. And apparently, the breaking news is someone built it with Mono, but it doesn't quite run yet. So I guess that's the way of Windows apps. But you know, I'm hopeful that because I don't like running Windows myself. I mean, it's really quite annoying, and I'd like to do something on Linux. I tend to use like virtual desktops. Anyway, so once you've installed the packages, then there's this extra step which you would normally get from the CD if you install from CD, where it would configure your host. So we've got this little simple install wizard just to do the kind of the post-install actions you need to do. So I'll just show you what that can do. So yeah, this is experimental software, so it writes a lot of debug messages, it triggers the rate limiter, and they all go in the bin. So the first thing we need to do is basically turn off the rate limiting, otherwise you can't debug it. So yeah, sorry, but this is obviously not production ready, this bit, but you can experiment with it. Yes, then all our debug messages are important for debugging, so yeah, turn on debug logging. Then obviously the console spam is another sign it's slightly in development. Okay, so then it'll modify your grub.conf for you. It'll take your default kernel. It'll rewrite the stanza to have the Zen 422 underneath. You need to configure your networking a bit. You need to tell it which interface to listen on. So yeah, it's a bit rough. I'll just choose EM1. This is the point where you'll be glad you use a serial console to do this, because this is where your networking drops and your SSH session dies. And yeah, okay, so then you need a firewall hole for port 80 and 443 because that's where the management traffic goes. And I think, oh sorry, that's a bad terminology. You need to, you need to allow traffic to come in on those ports. You need somewhere for your disk images, just a default place. You can put it anywhere you like, but there's a default place. OpenStack likes, the OpenStack Zen Api integration likes a particular storage configuration, so let's make one of those. Is going to work. Yay, and then you need to reboot. Yay, and then that's cool. Yes, I'll not show you that obviously, but okay, so then the host, oops. Yeah, then the host reboots, comes back up again, and it looks a lot like a Xenserver you'd install from CD, but it's running the experimental software at the moment. And this is what's inside. I'll just quickly show you for interest really. At the top we have clients which use this off-box interface, which we call the Zen Api, and that's received by this process called Zapi, which is this a host cluster. It's a cluster manager really, and that forwards some of these requests to other little bits and pieces. We have sort of a domain manager, which is your VM, runs your VMs. That's called XenOpsD, and we have storage plugins, which we call SM adapters or something. On the storage side, in this experimental version, I've added support for Libvirt using Richard Jones's or Camel Libvirt bindings, and very good. And and through that, I can manipulate things like Ceph volumes and do things with OCFS2. On the sort of the VM domain side, I'm currently using libxl, which is a Zen control library directly. I've got a version which uses Libvirt for that as well, but I haven't worked on that quite as much. And then beneath that, we've got standard Zen libraries, and we have what the Zen community will call the upstream QEMU, which is sort of jargon for QEMU, because in the Zen community, unfortunately, up until recently, there's been a very old fork of QEMU, which is called traditional QEMU. So you know, when we say upstream, we just mean the normal QEMU. So we have the normal one now, which is good. Oh yeah, so okay, one thing before I get much further talking about Ceph and Xenserver and all these things is there's quite a lot of terminology which I keep getting confused about, so I apologize if I mess it up, but everyone has slightly different terms. So for disks to be attached to a VM. So I think Ceph will call that a block device. And in Xenserver, we call that a virtual disk image, or VDI, which is really confusing because VDI also means virtual desktop infrastructure or something. Or, sorry, it basically means you're having a Windows desktop and stuff. And that's confusing. And in Libvirt, I believe it's a storage volume, which I think, and OpenStack can call that a volume as well. I think you can write to. And also, also the word pool is a bit overloaded. I think a Ceph pool is a collection of disks. A Libvirt storage pool is a collection of disks. A Xenserver pool is a collection of hosts. And as a Xenserver calls a storage pool a storage repository. So there's it's a bit of a jargon clash. I need to write up a cheat sheet so that you can translate from one to the other. So I apologise for any confusion. Okay, so yes. So I've got a CentOS, which you've seen, and I've installed the Xenserver packages on it. The next thing to do is to get Ceph working. And yeah, so I mentioned in that diagram that Xenserver has these storage adapters or storage plugins, and they can do things like NFS and put VHD files in NFS, or they can use iSCSI LUNs, or put VHD files in iSCSI LUNs, and they can do fiber channel. And now we have a plugin that uses the Libvirt API, and we can use the fact that Libvirt can manipulate various storage types, including Ceph, which means that now Xenserver can use Ceph, which is great. It's very important. And I've got a video of that as well. Don't worry, the last video I'll try and do live, but yeah. Let's see. Okay, Xenserver Ceph VM install. It's getting more and more exciting. Let's see. Okay, this is my same CentOS host, 64-bit. And I now believe he's rebooted and is now running Zen. Yay. So he's running Zen. It's good. And he's also running Xenserver software, so you can use the Xenserver CLI just to see what's happening. So I've got a domain 0 and no VMs yet. Right. Okay. So if you want to set up a Ceph client, you basically do it in the normal CentOS way. You basically have to follow the Ceph instructions and basically make a config file in etc Ceph. And this is my config file. It just basically points at my Ceph cluster, which has been set up by a guy, wasn't me, called Jay Bulpin, so I'm using his Ceph cluster. And I think he's away actually in the US, so he doesn't really mind. And if I've copied the file in there, I've copied the keyring, and if I do Ceph OSD ls pools, magically I can see his Ceph storage pools. So that's good. So my host can see Ceph. So then the question is, what can Xenserver see? So this is the okay. So this is the Windows GUI that I mentioned earlier. So I'm running it in our desktop session because I haven't got it working under Linux yet. Hopefully someone will soon. It basically shows hosts and host clusters, pools, down the left, and you can connect to them. They're currently disconnected, and query properties and do various admin actions. So I'll connect to my host ST11. So hopefully I'm clicking on him now. Left a bit of a gap here, obviously. Oh, there we go. He's connected. So now you can see he's summary of his CPU usage and his memory usage, and you can see he's got some little sort of these are the storage repositories. What people would call a Ceph storage pool or a Libvirt storage pool. What we call a storage repository down the left, where the disk images go. Okay, so I think now that I've got my Zen Center up, I think I next go back to my shell. Yay! Okay, back to the shell. So if you're gonna, the next thing to do is to write a bit of XML, like you need to use Libvirt to talk to Ceph. So that's the Libvirt storage pool XML that you would need to have. So I've got an IP address pointing to my Ceph node. I've got the name of the Ceph storage pool, RBD, I believe. And yeah, so at this point you could do a versh pool create on this thing, and it would work, I believe. So what I'll do something slightly different, which is I'll use the Xenserver CLI to create a storage repository of type Libvirt, and I'll give it the XML file name, a bit like you're doing with versh. And I'll flip back to Zen Center just so you can see what happens when I hit enter. And yeah, hopefully you can see that another little sort of disk icon appeared called Ceph. And hopefully if I go to the storage tab, I'll show you that all the Ceph volumes have now appeared in Xenserver, so you can now manage them with Xenserver using all those various tools. I'll just make that Ceph storage repository the default place for my VM disk images. Yeah, a little tick has now appeared next to it. Okay, so now I want to install a VM on Ceph. This is what you would normally do with Xenserver. You would say, oh, I need to install from ISO, so I'll first of all have to mount my NFS share that contains all the ISOs. So yeah, I'll go to the wizard. Windows people like wizards. I'll peck on the button. Yeah, the default name is fine. I'll peck again, and then I'll type in finally. Oh yeah, the path. Yeah, this is the NFS server and the usual path. Peck one more time on the finish button. Okay, right, so my ISOs have now hopefully appeared. I'll have a look in the tab, and yeah, I've got a bunch of ISOs. So now I can use a new VM wizard, so I hit the new VM button. And you choose from a template list, and there's one template per sort of supported operating system. There's a bunch of these things, like Ubuntu, SUSE, RHEL, Oracle, CentOS, Windows. CentOS 6 is good, but actually this is a demo. I'll use Windows for now, and I'll call it Win7 on Ceph or something. Yep, and peck, and then say choose CD, and then peck, and then yep, that one host will do. Memory will have memory, please. Yeah, I'll have some disks on Ceph, and I'll have only one network interface. 2 is a bit over the top. Next, and then I just say go, and then hopefully at this point it's using the Zen Api process is talking to the storage adapter, which is using the Libvirt storage interface to talk to Ceph to create the volume, and then it creates a VM, attaches the volume, and then it starts it up, and on the console a VM starts to boot, and that's all booting on Ceph. And I'll not show you Windows installing because it takes ages. Okay, cool. Okay, right. So that's okay. So at this point, I'll just say that it's worth noting that Xenserver development has been in the past mostly kind of hidden and a bit private, but now it's all visible and public. It's quite recently. A lot of this stuff has happened, like a week or so ago. When was it? A week or so ago, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean, a lot of the code was already kind of public, but the full lot has now been sort of published now, and we really want to do things in a more sort of sensible way. So, you know, repos are all public on GitHub, and we want to use the mailing lists properly, and we hang out on IRC a lot more, and we basically want to make it easier for people to work with us. And I'd also say that previously Xenserver people have done some naughty things and done things like made large patch queues and customized things. And on the Xenserver CD, you would often have modified versions of upstream software where the patches were just a bit custom and not really ideal. And now the goal is to basically to not do that and make everything use the standard packages. But if we have changes that we think should be made because they're good genuinely, then we'll try to get them upstream, and we'll do all that hopefully properly with the engaging with the upstream people. We want to remove all our patch queues, and yeah, we want to also stop reinventing things. We've always tended to reinvent things. Now we want to collaborate more, so that's where we're trying to use things like Libvirt and learn to use things like the regular QEMU. So I think it's worth this is probably my apology on behalf of all of us devs being a bit too secretive, and we don't want to do that anymore. And we just want to be friends.
When is the last week's release of 6.2 Xenserver 6.2 sit?
So that so that was.
I installed 4 nodes of 6.2 yesterday.
Yeah, we tried very hard to synchronize that release with the publishing of all the repos, so that we could genuinely say that was the first version of Xenserver where all the source code on the CD was actually all open source, all properly licensed, mostly GPL or derivatives, like some stuff's BSD, mostly on GitHub. I think almost, or Zen bits if it's like a Zen thing. I think it's probably those two places. So yeah, 6.2, we can sort of genuinely say it's open source. The only thing is it does come with some extra like third-party storage array management tools, which are just binaries to us, I think, and those aren't open source. You can opt to not install those if you don't want them. If you want to use certain SANs, you need those, and something we can do about that. But yeah, 6.2 is open source, so that's the stable production-ready version that would be good for production now, and it's not currently using these nice packages, but we're working very hard to converge everything. So I think John has been working very hard on that recently, and so the idea is that future releases of Xenserver will basically be much more like this. You still get a CD from Citrix, that'll be the supported thing, but under the hood it would be much more like a normal CentOS system, and also you'd be able just to install CentOS and just install the packages and support yourself, or do community support. That'll be fine. But yeah, we want to make Xenserver less custom, but open source does that help?
It's on 5.7.
It's on 5.7, yes. And our development versions, we're aiming towards 6.4. We're aiming towards having a 64-bit DOM0 at last. We're aiming towards having a recent 3.x kernel. We want to get rid of, there are various tweaks we made, things like multipath. We want to get rid of some of those and make it all like standard.
Because we tripped up yesterday on the fact that it wouldn't install on a node with 128 gig of RAM in it.
Would it not?
No, we had to take it all out and put 4 gig stick, one single 4 gig stick in it.
So the install failed, but the actual software worked.
Well, once we'd installed it with 4 gig in it, and then we ripped it all out, put 128 back in, and it was fine.
Dude. I apologise.
Yeah, it was quite frustrating for a couple of weeks.
Yes, so the installer is an interesting one because it's quite custom at the moment, and one of the things we're trying to do is use a much more standard looking installer, probably by having the CentOS installer and then having maybe that install wizard you saw just to do the customization afterwards, which is a simple Python program that's quite easy to modify. So I think it's obviously expensive to maintain that installer. That's not obviously working perfectly and didn't work for you. So we want to stop doing that and just do the standard thing. But expect that over the next few releases. I'm on the sort of the technology side and not on the product side, so I can't really say exactly what's going on there. But expect things to become more normal as quickly as we possibly can make it.
The Windows.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. The Windows client, does it do calls to XAPI or to OpenStack, NUMA or Quantum? Or
the Windows client is using the Zen Api talking to the Zappy process in DOM0 at the moment. I think it could be extended in various ways if you wanted to. People have mentioned OpenStack. I don't think it doesn't currently do that, but you could make it do that if you wanted. Yeah. So at the moment, I'll show you a demo of OpenStack in a minute, and I'll show them two UIs in parallel. Great. Okay, so quick thing. I'm sure you all know this already. So yes, what is OpenStack? Well, its website describes itself as a cloud operating system. It's this thing that knows about users, admins, clouds, tenants, clouds. It knows about hypervisors like Zen and KVM and VMware. It knows about networks, policies, IPs, switches and bridges. It knows about storage, images, which are read-only things, and volumes, which are read-write things. And it's intended to be horizontally scalable, so as your business grows, you can like plonk in more things. All very nice. And yeah, I recommend if you want to have a play with OpenStack, it's not too difficult to get going if you use this thing called DevStack, which you may have heard of, a documented shell script to build a complete environment. It's a bit, doing it manually, I think is quite fiddly because there are lots of services and they have to talk to each other. But DevStack is really quite a nice way of getting it all up, and I believe that is part of the regression testing that new patches to OpenStack have to make sure that DevStack is tested to make sure it still works. So I think it's usually a good bet. And if you want to do things on Xenserver in particular, there's a wiki page that describes particular instructions, and we're trying to make that simpler. So that's one of our goals. Okay, so I'll not do a video. I'll try and do this live if my R desktop still works. Okay, right. So here we are. So this is well. Okay, so the ancient proverb says the largest cloud starts with but a single physical host, and this one is mine. I have my cloud of one host. I don't really run clouds. I just write software. So here's my cloud of one host, and he's running CentOS 6.4, 64-bit. I've installed the Xenserver packages, Xenserver core packages, and I've connected this Windows GUI to it. And it looks like a Xenserver at this point. I've done the previous thing of setting up Ceph. And so I've got my, my Ceph storage repository with all my little Ceph volumes in it. I can hit the scan button and that will do a, yes, that's fine. Under the hood it does a Libvirt pool refresh and then just list the volumes inside there. I've got a large Ceph cluster of one node running in a VM, and I've got an OpenStack controller also running in a VM, and that's a standard way to run OpenStack on Zen hosts. Okay, so that's the physical side, and I can launch the OpenStack dashboard. So I just point at the IP address of that controller VM, and I log in with admin and a secret password. Very hard to guess password, and hopefully, if I press the button correctly. Yes, okay, yes, it's working well. Okay, so you get the sort of the OpenStack usage summary thing. You can see how much resource you're using. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the projects, and I've got a demo project set up. So I'll switch to my demo project. Right, now what I want to do is get my VM running on Ceph through OpenStack on Xenserver on CentOS. So the first thing to do is I need a disk for that. A disk is called a volume in OpenStack terminology. So I'll go to the Volumes tab. Yay. Okay. And I'll create myself a volume. And so volumes by default will be created empty, but they can be created from an image that already exists. That could be your gold master, your template. And I've got one of those. So I'll say, yes, use my image. And it's going to be a little test VM. It's a very small image just because it's nice and quick. And I'll call this guy test volume 2. Yep. Okay. So at this point, it's making the volume have the same contents as the image. So that could be doing. I'm not quite sure. I'm not totally sure. It could be doing a copy on write on the Ceph backend, or it could be doing a block copy. I'm not actually totally sure which of those two it's doing. I think it's downloading. It's probably doing a block copy, but that's just a missing functionality. So now I've got a test volume. Now I want a VM, and a VM in OpenStack is called an instance. So I'll go to the instances page and say launch me an instance. And I'm going to call my test instance. And that's fine. Oh yes, volume options. So basically I want to use that volume I just created. So default is don't boot from a volume. I'll say boot from my volume. Yep, please use my volume. And then launch. Okay, so I think at this point it's now scheduling, and it does various things. It's reticulating splines or whatever it has to do to make all this work. Oops, I can show you hopefully if I get there quick enough that it's actually having side effects. Maybe I missed it. Yeah, it created the volume already. There's the instance. It's going yellow. It's going yellow. It's still yellow. It's gone green. That's good. Then you go to the storage tab. You can see it's got this disk attached. It's coming from the Ceph storage repository, and on the console, even worked. It actually booted. So that VM is running on Xenserver, disks on Ceph, managed through OpenStack, all on CentOS. So I can terminate my instance, and I'll show you that just to sort of show it's all live and sort of doing things. Terminate instance, and if you watch the window in the background, you'll see, yeah, it gets zapped and it goes away, and it's all deleted and cleaned up. Yeah, so my cloud of 1 is working.
Do you charge yourself that 1 cent?
I think if I charge myself, I have to support myself more. I think I'm not sure it's a good idea. I think I'll have to. I have a lot of complaints about the software at the moment. It's lots of bugs, and I had to fix. Yeah, I'll fix them anyway. Okay, cool. Great. Okay, so that's basically what I wanted to show you. So yeah, and really in closing, yeah, CentOS is great. We love CentOS. All the Xenserver that we ship to customers run CentOS under the hood. We develop all the stuff on CentOS. We're trying to make our packages better CentOS packages, so people can just use them in other situations. We're trying to be good open source citizens. Well, any feedback would be great on that. Actually, anything you think we should do, let us know. So we're going to try our best to sort of share and rather than reinvent and to be more collaborative. And yeah, actually, it's quite fun to use all the stuff. So it's not that difficult to get it going. There were some bugs that were fixed earlier this week that was somewhat blocking, but now those bugs have been squashed. You can get a test environment going fairly easily and have a play and let us know how it goes if you have the chance.
I think we've got about 10 minutes for questions, if anyone's got any. Okay.
This is a planted question.
Perhaps. Could you comment on where your Zen package came from?
My Zen package. Oh yes. Okay. So yeah. So the the repos I had installed had the CentOS based ones. I had the Apple ones, and I also had the Zen C6 repo, which is the Zen on CentOS project, which is this great collaborative effort to make a good Zen hypervisor package and corresponding good 3.x kernel package and a good Libvirt package. So that was really good work, and so I basically I'm just standing on the shoulders of giants there. Really, I know I think I did minor tweak or something, but those packages are great, and that's been a really good effort. So if you just want to use Zen on CentOS, Zen for CentOS is awesome, and these Xenserver core packages are just additives. They're like nice extra frills that you can have on top, but the core stuff is the Zen C6 Zen for CentOS stuff. I should also say that, well, as you know, that we really, it's a point of planted question. We really know, as you know, that we really want to converge. There's no point us having a private fork of Zen. That's all a bit pointless. We really want to make sure that this packages of Zen and CentOS are basically the ones that we always use. We just share all the bug fixes, make sure that there's one great Zen package that's rock solid. No point having forks. I mean, we want to have everyone have the best Zen, really. So yeah, so our goal is to converge the Xenserver Zen packages with the Zen C6 ones, Zen for CentOS.
Any more questions? Okay. Oh.
So you were saying it's in development. In terms of high availability of the various services, could you comment on which services you've already touched on or not yet?
So I guess there's several things with high availability. There's a host heartbeating component which will detect host failures, and within a Xenserver pool, host cluster, it will restart VMs for you. So that piece was proprietary, but now is, I believe, all GPL'd. That's correct, isn't it, Mike?
It's GPL now, and we're in the process of getting it up on GitHub.
Just got to push it to GitHub. So from a VM perspective, we can do host failures. Then from a service failure on the host point of view, if one of these daemons crashes, so what we're working on at the moment is a bit of sort of health and liveness monitoring, we're calling it. We basically want to take some of the ideas from some of these Erlang systems where you've got supervision trees, where if you organize everything such that if something fails, it gets restarted. It fails again, you restart it and its peers maybe, and you restart it and its parent, and you just try to keep restarting things until it gets better. So we're trying to do one of that. Plus also, the other direction that we're heading in is we're trying to do the whole disaggregation thing, which if you're familiar with sort of Zen jargon, it's all about taking the system software and running it in separate virtual machines. A bit like that had an OpenStack virtual machine. You can also have other little mini virtual machines for doing things. And that means that one of them can be a device driver virtual machine. So you can put your, in the future, like in development, you can already put storage in a virtual machine, such that if a bug crashes that component, it'll be isolated and that VM can be restarted and the guests don't need to know. So that's in development, not in any product yet, but that's one of the directions you want to go in, because as the machines get bigger and the cloud has these hundreds of VMs on every host, it's a fault that takes down the host is obviously really devastating and has a really big impact. So we want to think of the hosts as being constructed of lots of little things which can all be restarted independently.
It's a bit the concept of OpenStack on OpenStack, or so your OpenStack management layer is managed by an underlying OpenStack to manage the restart of these stub VMs.
So I guess the OpenStack, if the controller did die, we could try to restart it. That would be one of the things we could manage through this health and liveness monitoring thing that we want to build. It's slightly this is all very early for some of this stuff. This is just the directions we're trying to head in, trying to make it as reliable as possible. I think OpenStack will probably have high-level plans probably for how to where to restart if you lose a rack, what to do about that. Maybe you can put the VM somewhere else. We're just going to try and make sure the hosts stay up as long as they still got power, and you know, if they've got like NICs and redundant paths, we'll try to make sure that we route things over the working paths.
Okay, there's another question. Another question over here.
Two questions actually. What is the performance of the Ceph setup you had? Was that ripe for production or more prototyping?
Very prototyping. It's not a production setup. It's only had one node, for example, and I think you're meant to have several nodes for that.
Ceph in general is fine for production.
Okay.
Yes,
yeah,
that's true.
sorry, I was more interested in general. Okay.
Yeah, so my setup is obviously just a single box. I could have put it on a big laptop, but this one's a bit underpowered. And yeah, so Ceph is a very nice software. And we don't run clouds internally because we develop software mainly. But I need to find a way of turning our test machines into one large Ceph cluster. That's what I want to do. I need to do that.
Thanks.
Any more questions? Okay.
Is there an official schedule when the CentOS 6 version is available?
I can't really speak about product stuff, unfortunately. I don't really know, to be honest. What I can say is that all the stuff we're working on is all open source, and we want to make sure that builds and repos are available for people to play with, and hopefully they'll get more stable over time. But I don't really know what the plans are for the Citrix Xenserver product. I can only speak about the technology and the packages, really. But I can say that we are trying to get the packages all nice and tidy. Also, I should say that a lot of the packages that I've got, as well as coming from Apple and from CentOS normally, there's some other packages which we've created from scratch that we need to basically upstream. In fact, we have to get our packages into the right places. Like you put your code in the right place, we want to get our packages in the right places. So I've made some new development packages that I need to check they satisfy the packaging guidelines, and then send some stuff to the various maintainers. I think I've got some more Camel development packages, for example. I need to send in your direction. But anyway, yeah. So we're trying to put things in the right place, and yeah, I can only speak about the technology.
Okay. Any more questions?
Just your CentOS 6 tree, is it going to be SE Linux friendly?
I haven't disabled SE Linux on my system, and it seems to work. Although I have to admit I haven't looked into it in much detail. I think we'd like to make everything work with SE Linux. I think that would be generally a good thing. I think in the past we have disabled it in our product, and I think I know it's naughty. And so I think we would like to. Well, I'd have to default low in my test environments, and I think it's all enabled, and it's not been causing me any problems.
But there is a bit of a difference between just having it left enforcing and actually having it confine stuff. So are the actual processes currently running unconfined on your stuff? Or on your
at the moment I haven't configured anything, so I guess it would be unconfined.
Yeah, so yeah.
So it's probably work to do there to fix all that. Yeah, so I guess that'd be important for like defense in depth, because I've been focusing mainly on putting things in separate virtual machines and being very coarse-grained about it. But I guess SE Linux is more fine-grained.
Probably got time for like one more question, if there's. Okay, just next.
I'd like to ask if there is a plan to have a Xenserver built for ARM.
I don't know about product plans, but so Zen on ARM is becoming very big. A lot of people work on that. So I think I'm quite keen to get this code working on ARM. A lot of it's written in a Camel, so it just works on ARM. I just recompile it. I don't think there's going to be a big problem with that. Some of the ARM machines may be a bit smaller. Maybe they're more like these boxes containing lots of smaller servers. So we may need to rethink the placement of services a bit. But I think the technology will work soon on ARM. I mean, Zen already does work well on ARM. It's only a question of getting packages for this other stuff and making sure it actually does something sensible. So yeah, hopefully there'll be a product, but I don't know about the product stuff.
Thanks.